Hopefully you guys can hear everything. I guess that's my Morse code test thing. Please let me know if you can hear me. Leo commandeered the couch. I made him another tent blanket, so I'm on here, but inadvertently, at least you guys get to see a bit of that, and I don't have to use the backdrop and have my body disappear. And unfortunately, I am using the not very good webcam right now. I wanted to use the camcorder so I can go back and forth over the map. I still will. Oh no. Now, does that mean I'm talking like a chipmunk? Please don't say I'm talking like a chipmunk. Or you're being trying to guess it. I hope to God that's all it is. But anyways, I'm going to have to test it next week, the camcorder. It's all the reason why I'm a bit worried. It's just the battery longevity. And I don't want to, I'm unsure how StreamYard's going to deal with me. Hello, Meandering Mike and Charles. Actually, I have to say hello. Like, what am I doing? Anyway, so I'll test the camcorder out next week. During the week, because I really do want to use it, because obviously I have the viewfinder, so I can see exactly what you guys will be able to see when I go over the map. The other beautiful thing I'm starting to clue into is, since I'll be doing this week by week, this is going to take obviously 3 years now to get finished. Maybe I'll even have the mini game done by then. But I'm going to I'll be able to start leaving the front lines on the map and stuff. So we'll be able to start to alter where the front lines are, and things I think will start making a heck of a lot more, into context. So anyways, oh my gosh. And I'll be honest with you guys. Last night when I was just looking, you guys, I'll say one thing about your American government and your infrastructure for it. Boy, do you guys ever like keeping records. It is incredible. Your National Archives and Library and Archives or whatever, and what is freely available. I don't even know where to start, to be honest with you. Last night I was just staring at the smallest fraction of World War I available posters and propaganda material that was available. Just jaw-dropping. I'm just that aside, I was thinking, my God, there's endless amount of resources to explore just for World War I. And like I was saying, for the way I'm looking at this with this live stream, yes, okay, we're going with the Welktrieg stuff as well, but it's always been an exploration as well with World War I and gaming and so on and so forth. And to be able to, I'm thinking, well, what a great way to do it week by week. I'm going to hopefully be able to synthesize more information that way, as well as I get to another resource is interacting with you guys while I'm learning. It's just such a win-win situation for me. So anyways, before I start going to my notes about the week that was, I will grab the webcam here. I'll try to say what I think was going on week-wise from what I've been reading and watching from the Great War. And then we can go from there and take a look at my notes, because then we can go with the specifics. And if you guys ever have recommendations, yet again, please let me know about, like what I should be doing. I'm so glad I don't sound like a chipmunk, obviously. So I'll tell you, and then I'll maybe go to the dates. It'll make me a bit easier. I can just read the notes or whatever, take a look. So generally what I think has been going on the past week, from what I've been reading and so on and so forth, is the Austrians have started their big offensive in the Carpathians to try to relieve the surrounded troops in Przemyśl. It's not going well. It's been a bit of back and forth, but I think right now the Russians are really pushing back from what I've been reading. The biggie for the Germans, two biggies. One of the biggies was their second attempt to try to siege to take the fortress at Oswiec, I think, and we'll be able to take a look at that later. And the nice thing was, because I've been preparing for, thanks, Meandering Mike. I haven't actually watched it, so. But with the Sunday with Spencer Gable, I went, wait a minute, I know that town, that name of that town, and I couldn't find it on the thing here. But I was like, okay, I know there's an Oswiec fortress for the Welktrieg counters. So I ran upstairs, sure enough, knew where the location was. I was pretty happy. I was pretty close, actually. God, I stare at the bloody at that geography so much, it's not funny. Then I ran to their Welktrieg map, saw where the fortress was, grabbed the hex number, popped it up there so I can, there. Anyways, that was one part of what the Germans were doing, as well as the biggie was the attack at Bolimov. And I think it was more of they were saying the reason people remember it more, not because of the battle itself, of any outcome, it was the fact that it was the first time the Germans used mass used gas on people, a form of tear gas. At the time, didn't go very well. It was really cold. Most of the cylinders, the gas didn't vaporize. It was windy, didn't go the right way, that type of stuff. They actually, from what I've been reading, that was part of an attack. Surprise, surprise, it's sounding a heck of a lot like my game in one way, in the sense they were saying that the Germans were using this attack to try towards Warsaw to try to drive forces away from the Russian forces away from East Prussia for their surprise attack, a combined attack actually with Austrian troops. And that would be the second battle of the Masurian Lakes, I do believe, which you can get with Decision Games, which I have upstairs, one of the folio games, which I'd like to play this year. So anyways, so that was that part. It didn't work. And I think one of the Russian generals tried to take advantage of it and mount a counterattack. It didn't work. And they almost got obliterated by German artillery, I do believe. Oh, that was a few episodes ago, Charles. I sounded horrible. What else? The Ottomans, this was the week that at the beginning of February where they made their raid on the Suez Canal. And they assumed it was going to be a surprise attack. They even used, ahead of time, they went and got German engineers to mount wells through the desert so that way they can go across there. It didn't work. Supposedly, British airplane reconnaissance were able to detect the Ottoman movements there. They also tried to attack at the narrowest parts of the canal to also avoid some of the British gunboats that could possibly hit them. It didn't work. They were repulsed pretty effectively, and actually I think a number of them were captured the next day or a day after or something like that by some British troops that went out to see what was going on. Also, which we'll look up at the map later, but the Anzac, there were some Anzac troops that were brought in from Suez to come up towards Ismailia, I think, is where the main focus of the attack for the Ottomans were, as well as the Ottomans were not doing very well against the Russians up in the Caucasus, and they actually lost Tabriz and were continuing to fall back. This is at the time, I think, the British, the Entente forces are really finalizing their plans for Gallipoli, which is about to happen in a few months, as we know, or maybe you don't. I didn't, so I should shush. And I think it's called the 57th Infantry Division. This is, I think, a pretty important infantry division in the Gallipoli campaign for the Ottomans. I think they, from what I've been reading, they made the information I'm getting is from the chronology of the Great War, the Great War YouTube video, Wikipedia, Atlas of the Great War. I'll put these sources in for people. And Crowns in the Gutter, the Tim Racer book, which I forgot the title of a while ago. So those are my sources primarily, I think, at the moment. Anyway, so I think that's the end of that bit. Also on the Western Front, there was it seems to be a bit of a tit for tat back and forth, and I think Falkenhayn has finally started his big offensive that way. And then there's been a heck of a lot of submarine, a lot of sinkings going on. And I think this is this is where the Kaiser says thumbs up to unrestricted warfare in the ocean. And the French are making advances in Cameroon. I think they took Birchua this in late January, early February, which becomes, I think, is the capital now of Cameroon. Kemp, I think his name is. He was the one of the last Boer rebel leaders or whatever. He surrenders to the South African Union government. At this point, the Germans are repulsed, I think, along the Orange River. I can't remember the name of it. Well, it's in the notes, but we'll look it up. I think that's about it. I'll take a quickie look at the notes, and then we'll go to the Calandale stuff. It's a 37-minute long video. And I really want to get to the American Armies and Battlefields book that's available on at the National World War I Museum and Memorial. I'm telling you guys, easily, just the amount of resources available on just from that website, I swear to God, you could do years worth of weekly hour-long live streams. It's just incredible. Okay, so before I switch over to there and start screwing around with the webcam thing, I'll pop in my next question. Oh yeah, and all these questions, obviously, this little trivia thing is coming from the History Heroes book. I thought, hey man, let's have some fun with this. Like I said before, this live stream for me has been I want to use this as a to facilitate my learning, and it's I'm going to learn. I'm going to hopefully get better as time goes on, and I'm enjoying this type of pacing. I think like I said, oh, that's it, and we'll also zip over to what was happening in late January 1914 and early February 1914 as well. Just a couple of tidbits which I found really interesting. I'm more interested in World War I. Thanks, man. And Charles, it's you know what I mean? It's the other way around too, because I mean, like when you were doing the playthrough of the Mighty Endeavor and stuff, it's like, whoa, all this going on in my life could be just maybe the light bulbs flickering a bit. It's that's what I love about this. The same thing when I've been watching Meandering Mike's playthroughs of especially the I don't know what he calls it, the span of time or thing that I know we have to go back to World War I quickly or whatever, but or stay on topic. I so wish Britannia would go. I understand why they stopped where they do, but I would so wish they would have went on to maybe go on through the anarchy. That to me is one of my favorite periods for that bit because of Cadfael and all that stuff. But and it's a fascinating. It's a sweep of history. Thank you, Mike. It's a fascinating time in England as far as I'm concerned. There's some really good stuff going on there. I could recommend a fantastic book. I can't remember her name. Oh, darn it. Susan, I think her name is. She's an American author. It's called When Christ and His Saints Slept, I do believe. Unbelievably good book. Wow. Anyways, let's get back to, and there's a couple of tidbits I found in, I think it's in February 1914, where it was your President Wilson made the very first telegraph message or wireless communication to the Kaiser. And it was the first time there was ever a wireless communication between direct link message between Germany and the United States. And I just found that interesting that a year later, you know, well, I mean, the United States wouldn't be at war, but, you know, a year later, look what was going to happen, you know. So, okay, I'll pop in the next question, which will now be 5 points since no one got the. It's a toughie. I went, oh my gosh, this is really hard. So let me pop in the. I'll type it in so people can see it later. It's not just me talking. I want to make sure that I don't grab an easy one right off the bat. Yep, here we go. My hospital. So next question. For 5 points. My hospital work in Serbia, improving hygiene, which I have to learn how to spell, and I'm not even close. Holy smokes. All right. Reduced epidemics. Raging there. Who am I? There you are. My hospital work in Serbia, improving hygiene, reduced epidemics. Raging there. Who am I? For 5 points. See if somebody can get that one. All right. Yeah, I'll just we'll just quickly go over the, just a bit of the, I'll just show you maybe geographically so you can see what, and like I said, later on, or next week, I'm hoping the camcorder will be set up properly. I can see what you're actually going to be seeing. And over time, I won't have to move as much stuff anymore. Yeah, I like the way you're thinking, Andrew, Mike. I like the way you're thinking. You're wrong, but I like the way I like the way you're thinking. You're on the right track, is what I'm saying. Anyways, yeah. So that'll be great, as I won't have to move things around as much anymore, which would be wonderful. Like I said, this is all an evolution, like, you know, adapting. That's the word I've been trying to use, and I'm going to actually need to be using in the next little while concerning non-game related issues. Okay, so let me grab the camcorder quickly, and I'll grab my notes, and then I'll see if I'm missing some stuff, and then we'll go on to Calandale stuff. Oh my God, we're already at 10 to 9. What the hell is going on? I've already wasted 20 minutes. Jeepers jumping, guys! You guys got to stop me. I'm trying to, you know. Hold on here. I got to make sure I don't yank it the wrong way, which I just did. Nope, I didn't. Okay, you can still see me. All right. So I'll just show you. Maybe I won't go into the details so we can get towards the other meat, because I don't want to waste too much time here. So this is where, right around that area is where Kemp and the Boer rebels ended up surrendering in early February or late January. And there roughly is where Berchua was, where the French have made some advances at the end of January and early February. So there you go. Like I said, this will get hopefully better in the long run. And way up here is where, like I said, I can't see what you're seeing anymore, so I'm just hoping to God. So there's Tabriz up near Lake Armia. I guess that must be near the Zagros Mountains, around there, somewhere around there. So that's where the Ottomans have been losing ground significantly to the Russians. And then we'll go down towards here, nice and slow, I hope. And this is where the Ottomans made their raid on the Suez Canal, which didn't work out. But it did cause the British, from what I've known, to panic and start realizing that they had to start bringing a lot more troops down. And that basically, essentially stayed that way for the remainder of the war. So regardless what you could say of, the Ottomans, like I said before in a previous video, I think the Russians and the Ottomans don't get as much credit for the sacrifice or the effort that they, put in, because think about how much, yet again, if the British didn't have to focus so much about sending troops and so on and so forth towards that area, they could have, used those troops in the Western Front or what have you. And, a division here and a division there is all matters sometimes. So here's, as you can see here, that's the Russian advances after the after the Austro-Hungarians tried to make their another push towards Przemyśl and whatnot. And there's the Uzak, and I can't remember the other passes, but yeah, they got stopped right there, and things are not going to go well for the Austrians there. Up towards here, the bottom one is the attack on Bolimov, where I'll try to pan out a little bit, hopefully. So right here, so that's where the Russian gas attack was. Over here, the Germans are making another a second push towards Warsaw, and that's also being repulsed by the Russians. And here's the Oswick Fortress, and that's also being repulsed by the Russians. And way up over here in Tilsit, the Russians are advancing and making some gains here. But it's not going to be long, and it's going to be the second battle of the Masurian Lakes. It's just about to happen, and it doesn't go well. All right, so and here's you can see the ebb and flow. So here's up chutes and ladders. I think here's Soissons, and that was being also some ineffective gains that the Germans were trying to make. Here's where along the English Channel, a bunch of I'll show you way up there or down towards the strategic map. I have to use it as well. But here was three ships in one day, where it was taken by, I think, SMU-20. And down here as well, this German submarine was able to get under the Dogger Bank, I think it's called, or Dogger Barrage, sorry. Some underwater thing. I guess maybe it's also part of that blockade. But it was able to nail 4 ships up in this area as well. And a Russian, wow, it was interesting to hear about that. A Russian submarine was able to nail a German supply vessel over there. Okay, so now we'll go towards Calandale, and like I said, later on, let me know how all this went on. Oh God, it's so nice to see you, Ken. So here we go. I'll pop this on, and then later on after this, we'll go to take a look at that fantastic PDF available. Well, like I said, towards for everyone at the National Museum and Memorial. Okay, so hold on. It's going to take me a second or two to get everything ready, since I'm not the best at this. Okay, so I want to go to here. And I want to share this tab instead. Yep. And then I want to do it full screen. Yep. Hold your horses, so I'm going to have to mute me.
but also it wasn't at all mandatory. They didn't have to find an attack here. They were at 99 points. They would get 40 more at the beginning of next month. So they don't even have to attack before the beginning of the next month. But this was an opportunity that was too good. They had the troops in position. They managed to get the breakthrough. It was almost impossible that they would not. I think. I'm not sure. It may not have been a matter of almost. Yeah, no. With a -3 to the die roll, it's pretty easy. They were in the 80s, so they had to do 8 points of damage. They got a decent die roll, and they pushed forward. And now the Germans are going to have to pull back. In fact, this location looks really scary. It is entrenched, but it can be attacked from both sides, thereby negating all the trench effects. So I think the French did a very powerful thing. There aren't a lot of troops in the area. This is what's left, a 1 strength point. The Germans had to lose an extra strength point. This is one of those few cases where a pure strength point game wouldn't have caused exactly the same. There'd be a 1 strength point less of a loss to the Germans because they had a particular unit, an 8 strength point unit in that hole. It took 6 hits. There's no way of representing that. So they had to take a 7th hit. I don't think it's worth the effort to represent those kinds of little tiny changes. They may be a slight advantage in realism in keeping, the effectiveness of units being broken, of these big units. I don't know. I mean, personally, I don't think it's really that big a deal. But the ease of a strength point game would definitely improve the playability of this thing. Anyway. It's kind of nice terrain for the Germans to defend it. Well, it's facing the wrong way. So they're going to get a bonus, but not much of one. So I think the French actually have some neat openings in this salient now. You may actually see a prolonged offensive there. What is the reason for it? Probably a little bit of sloppiness. I saw an 8-point unit there. Thought that could probably hold. It's tough, though, because most of this line isn't much bigger than that unit. However, they were across the river already. The French already had a space. They were already attacking from. There was no river bonus there, just a 1-point bonus for the what is it? Broken terrain, broken rough. Anyway, so they were able to get some sufficient force on there to cause that breakthrough, and they may be able to continue onward, which could be kind of interesting because that would mean a prolonged offensive, something we haven't seen since the Schlieffen days, really. We saw some, shifting movements along here, trying to probe in other areas as the Germans were able to rush troops in. We'll see if the Germans can defend this. If they can, it may mean stripping things off where the French really did want to attack, which was here in the Bulge area, to try to drive the Germans back from Paris, basically. Because there's a lot of points in Paris towards destroying the will, and the productivity, etc., which if Paris hexes started to fall, I think some serious trouble would fall on the French. There's not a lot of locations that are important to capture, especially in France. In Germany, there are. You can destroy Germany by taking these, and they take double demoralization effects by losing territory. So the Germans never want to lose ground in their own territory, much more than any other country. Well, much more than the French feel that way. All right, well, let's see how this month develops. I've got some fiddling to do because I don't exactly follow the sequence of play usually in a game of this kind with this many mechanical things. I got some replacements they got to push out, but I want to show you the French offensive just continues, and they're pounding further towards Luxembourg. They might be able to push around into some really valuable German areas, or at least threaten them. The Germans had a big old stack, a lot of pieces. It looked like 6 pieces. They were all 2-strength units. I was vaguely aware of this, but when I searched through everything as the French, I said, "Oh, there's an easy place, sitting right here, right on the, not the most vulnerable location, which is perhaps here, but not in good terrain, no trenches. This is the stuff that they had thrown together to defend there. This is what they could get there. They took losses in artillery, in cavalry. Those are double cost losses." And the artillery doesn't count against their regular losses. So basically what happens is they took their regular losses, retreated, and then the guns are captured and cost double. So they took a lot of demoralization hits for this attack. Very, very effective by the French. On the other side, the English finally launched an offensive up here. Now, this isn't going to gain any ground, but it helps bleed the Germans a little bit. They did a little more damage to the Germans than they did to themselves, and they had to do. Not because of supplies this time, but because of too many men. They've got too many replacements kicking around. They've got the Canadians that they had to take losses on, and some other stuff going on. I hope I have a Canadian in me. Yeah, there. I forgot to put one. I've got a Brit there instead, which doesn't belong. So yeah, the Allies kind of felt compelled to continue the attacks. And for the French, opportunity attack. But in conjunction with the British one, it's going to put some stress on the Germans. And it's actually putting it on some interesting places. Over here isn't really helping. They would have loved to do it on this, on the bulge itself. But it does put a nice threat over here, and it's going to overextend the Germans. They've had to fall back once already. Can they hold this line? There's some fortresses built in there, so it's kind of stronger than it looks. But with all the French artillery, the French can do some artillery attacks on the fortresses and reduce them, thereby weakening the German line enough. The Germans have to move troops to perhaps forcing the fall back here. Over here, again, they're not going to be able to break through if the Germans do any job of defending. They've got a lot of troops in that area. But, when you have to attack, the Brits are actually pretty good. They've got higher strength units than the French do, an extra strength point per division. So they're able to inflict a lot more damage. Wow. Well, the Germans barely managed to hold off against combined offensives this time. First of all, the French attacked here at Longueuil. Weak spot in the line, only an 8-point infantry there. Again, those things are brittle. Again, knocked down to 1 strength point. This time, no special. It wasn't a 6-point hit would have caused 7 damage. In this case, they took a 7-point hit, which is barely able to survive there and keep their artillery in place. But the Germans are certainly facing a real strength point problem in this area of where the main French offensive is being conducted. The French grinder is beginning to get hurt, and especially in terms of supplies. Here's where we are in supplies total. 10, 20, 30, call that 45, somewhere around 50, 60 supplies left. This can't keep going. I can't keep pushing this offensive throughout the month, I don't think. I've got 4 turns left at the cost I've been doing because the French threw in a second front over here and almost broke this down to 1 strength point as well. In both cases, the net roll was a 1. I think that's a 3 and a 4. Slightly better rolls would have broken the line either here or continued pushing here. Well, the line, this is also an entrenchment. So things have kind of gotten more solid in a sense. But if the French could break here, well, if the combined allies could break here, that would be really a threat to the Hindenburg line that I was planning on constructing. I might have to consider pulling it back. I've still got the rest of this month to decide where that line's going to be. Do I fall back to the Somme even? I don't know. That sounds painful. That sounds really painful to fall back that far north. It looked to me like I could maintain this, but the stress and the strain that the German army's under, I don't know if they can hold up. We'll see as the year goes, basically, with where the line, wherever I decide to build the line, I'm stuck with. I could build a new line back here. There are a certain amount of counters for the Hindenburg line, and I'm not using them all. So for what I'm constructing right now. But wow, I really wouldn't want to have to give up, down to almost the historical line, except for the Allies held on to the channel ports. If the Allies can get close to those Belgians, they unleash something really dangerous here that I've been able to avoid as the Germans. But we can see, even without the Belgians, the Allies are able to pack a significant wallop, especially if the Germans are kind of clumsy and not paying tremendous attention to keeping the line completely positioned and evened out in the strength points. It's tough to defend in this game. It really is. And a bad roll on a place where you made a bad decision, you can get a breakthrough that maybe is more than historically happened at this point in time. We're certainly seeing the French making some significant gains here, and the Germans have to just keep pouring troops in. I like the way that feels. I don't necessarily like the work involved in it, but I do like the way that it plays out. Once a breakthrough happens, you just got to start pouring troops in. It's like a Verdun type situation where you feel like the defender is actually the one being bled dry. And with the French supply situation going down and the British having trouble finding anything that's really easy to hit, the English offensive, including the French allied portion that came down here, the English attacks have halted. But the French continued on here with a mobile attack into this hex, and then combining, because they could slide their artillery through here, attacking into there. You can only do that because the artillery can move through zones of control if there's infantry in place. So they've actually pushed into 2 extra hexes with the kind of assault cost that it would have taken to hit this hex. And they've done probably approximately the same amount of damage that they could. The biggie is gaining the ground, because that's gonna, they're almost breaking this German line. There's a hole here. There's these fortresses here. The Germans really have to try to figure out how to defend here. One interesting factor of this game is you have to worry about the strength points where they're located, what kind of units are where. So you want your units to take hits from, in this case, I didn't really want to pull from this hex. I wanted to pull from this hex. Well, you can only advance with your weakest units. So you got to make sure that you can take your hits sort of on the right units. If I ended up getting an extra, an extra 4 strength points into this hex by juggling the losses that I took on this hex. Had I done it a different way, I couldn't have defended the 3 hexes as equitably as I've managed to do. Again, kind of a fiddly little thing that wouldn't be there in a pure strength point game. And I'm not sure how much it adds, because if you really work hard at it, you can do very well with it. But if you don't, you can screw yourself over. And I'm not sure how much, it helps represent the situation to do that extra work. It's not like the supply lines in, say, OCS, where you're really kind of devoting your attack potential by positioning your supply. This isn't that kind of broad stroke. It's this little kind of mechanical stuff that you have to take care of all over in this. Anyway, well, we've gone through 4 of the turns in this February turn. This winter offensive has been really powerful. The French have had to actually push another army headquarters into play because of the supply constraints. It's actually off the rail line, but they drained it. They just wanted it for the points. Now they'll shift it back and move everything back. That kind of fiddliness is going on in here all the time. But they wouldn't have had to do that the way I cannot play laxly with the withdrawing supply. But as it stands, yeah, it kind of had to happen. Now there's some danger somewhere down here. There are units on the French line that are out of supply. So you may see a German counterattack in this sector to take advantage of the fact that the French have pushed everything up there to exploit these attacks. Well, now the French are going to have to pay and only defend at half strength. It may be difficult for the Germans to actually budge the French, but they should be able to get a good combat ratio. The Germans also have really good supply situation. So in a sense, they want to burn some supply on attacks if they can get good numbers off of it. The French are taking some heavy losses here to their demoralization points. Yes, they're doing more than the Germans are, but they're also closer to that barrier. And once they hit that, it becomes harder for the French army to actually continue acting because they won't get the amount of supply points, they won't get the amount of replacement points that they've been getting. A lot of hard choices there. Nice. A German attempt to divert the French attentions, an attack over here in the Vosges, wasn't terribly successful. They did 4 points of damage to 2. And it's great and everything, but they had to concentrate some of their forces into here that maybe could have moved up better in this direction. Right now, the line up here is not very strong. If the French still have supplies, they'll be able to push through. The reason for this attack was this was one of 2 hexes the French could not supply because of the rearrangement of my commands. Oh, wait, what the hell? Okay, I guess it wasn't. There was a French army there. Well, I'll let it stand with the out of supply attack. Truth of the matter is the French did have a headquarters there. I just didn't see it. Yeah, I swear that I was fixated on that and said there's no way they can supply this, but there was. I just didn't see it. Oh, well. Anyway, the Germans would not have made that bad attack in that case. At this point, well, we're going to see if the French can continue their assaults. They've got just this hex. They can eliminate the trench. The Germans should get out of that hex. They don't want to be there. I'm going to pull them out of there because the trench is ineffectual there. All right. So, here's an example of the annoyance factor of the reinforcements charge. Just you withdraw 2 Canadian 4-5 brigades and replace them with an 8-5 division. Exactly the same thing, except for one thing. You can't split that division up. So what it means is the Canadians are going to operate probably as they historically did, with less flexibility and less ability to pull out, to spread out and as more distinct units that'll be in their own commands. Okay, that's great and everything. But that level of detail, I think, isn't really required. Let the player have that little bit of extra flexibility. And that's the whole thing with the strength point game. The game is so close to 1, why not just allow that flexibility? The brittle units, a neat little thing, but is it that necessary? I don't feel like it adds that much to the overall flavor. Anyway, onward with my offensives. The English open up another attritional attack down here, primarily to try to drain the Germans from supplies because the French are overreaching at this point. It would be lovely if I could get an English army over there, but there's no way to do that kind of transfer. That's a massive effort that takes, probably most of a month to do to open up a new sector of the front for the Brits. So, the fact that the Germans are strong here is in part because the British are there. So the French launched one more attack up north. They took the city of Luxembourg. That doesn't gain anybody any demoralization points or anything, but there was a weak unit there defending it. They were able to actually do more than twice as many hit points as it had essentially, but they wanted to guarantee an advance. Perhaps more enticing would be to strike here against this fortress, but because that'll put some effort on the Metz salient down here. But here's the thing. Sure, Metz is worth more than the city of Luxembourg, but Trier is right here, not too far away. The Germans have to defend that, and they've got to, divert troops to this bulge. They're set up to build their Hindenburg line back here, but it's beginning to look like they're going to want it somewhere back here, maybe. I don't know. They can't really afford to give up too much ground there to create too big of French bulbs. The Allies have more counters, more troop strength total. So they can actually, the shorter line is an advantage to the Germans, which is why you really want this Hindenburg line in play. Because if I can make a dense German line, it's not going to get broken. But if I can't, then the Allies can find places where they can punch through with sufficient supplies. Unfortunately, they're out of supply. This is something the Germans don't really know. The Allies are acting as though they have a lot of supplies, but the truth is their offensive is probably going to have to halt. They've got some, I don't know, less than 20 supplies total, and they're blowing through a ton of them. What is it? I don't know. They went through close to 20 this turn with the French assault. The English assault was larger. The English can expend their points, but yeah, trying to fight this war on the cheap isn't going to work too well. And unless your opponent has no supplies, you probably can't push these attacks without them. But the Germans may have to stretch thinly enough that the French can make no supply attacks. Of course, that's almost tempting the French or the Germans to make a massive assault somewhere along the line, just to do the incredible casualties that you can launch proportionally when the other guy doesn't have supplies. If you can get your massed firepower against them, they're just not going to do the kind of damage. Even if they have the trenches, you can really hurt them without taking much losses yourself. So there's kind of an interesting balance. You start making out of supply attacks, and the enemy knows you're hurting. All right. So that's the end of the 5th turn of February, and it's been an exciting month. Well, now the offensive's ground to a halt. And given the advantages that the French had and the weakness of the Germans, especially in this area, where they could have been attacked by a mobile attack over against this lone unit here, and then a 3 hex side attack against that unit, which would have really kind of broken open the Saarbrücken route. And the Germans have to be figuring that the French are low on something. Yes, they could have just, yes, their troops were getting weak. They pulled troops out of there, but they got to be getting low on supply. Now they have a problem, which is 1, 2, 3. They're kind of at the edge of their supply line and shifted a headquarters into place. They certainly could have made that attack, though, with what they did. So now the Germans have to figure out, can I land a blow? Now, the truth of the matter is the French actually have a significant amount of supplies, especially in this area, for a defense for one more turn. They just don't have the attack capability. But if I can launch a German attack, there's a possibility of regaining some of this territory. And hexes like this, look at Luxembourg itself, look exceedingly valuable because that cuts my line by a couple of hexes. So if I can throw an attack in there, I think I shall. I'm just not sure I have the amount of force in that area to manage it. Let's see. Well, the Germans did launch an attack. It allowed them to kind of, take losses not on their weakest point on the line there and cause some casualties to the French, making it harder for the French to resume an attack. But the big thing is the French did have enough supplies to continue fighting. There were other factors, too. Let's take a look because things are kind of interesting at this point in the war, 1916. We had a forest terrain. That's a +2 situation to the die roll due to the terrain effects chart, the way that works. Remember, the attacker gets a -2 to his die roll. The defender gets a +2 to his die roll. A little different from how trenches work. But because we're this late in the war, the defender doesn't have to retreat from territory with a -2 normally. But further little examples, we've got this unit not quite cut off, so he wouldn't have had to retreat anyway because he's got 2 enemies here. See, we're attacking from both directions, which would negate that, except there's 2 French. So it's just all these different things that meld together. Once you get used to them, they work very, very well. And I really like how the line stability actually manages to operate within this game. I think that works fine. I like the terrain on the map, even if the map looks hideous. I like the way it plays. I've expressed what my grumps are about it. I think it's a very, very good operational game beyond the mechanical problems, and then the problems with the rules, etc. All right. Well, the French have, or the Allies have one more turn this month. I don't think anything's going to happen. They're still low on supplies. They were able to scrape up enough to defend themselves here, but I think their offensive's largely stopped. Of course, if the Germans don't defend this better, we might see a French resurgence. But right now we're doing a retrenching type period to get those forces back into place. If there's an opportunity, we'll hit. But right now we don't have that chance. We could spend the ammo to make the attack. It might be worth it. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, no attack. Again, I had the supplies to do it, but when it comes down to it, what do I gain by pushing further this way? I know it's somewhat attractive, but just pushing those troops further and further on, stretching them out thinner and thinner, I'm having a hard time finding enough troops to defend the French line in the north here. I feel like I have to halt. I have to pull back units. I have to start, recuperating the units with all those reserve pieces I have. But I have nothing to build except Cav that's completely off the map. I don't have any lost units. So rather than weaken my line, or as an alternative, try to shift this threat up. The main rail line would get me there, so I would be able to move that into place in a turn. I could pull most of that out of here pretty quickly. But then I lose the whole threat on the Paris sector. Of course, I could push some more Brits into there. And that's tempting. Once the Brits heal, they may take another hex, maybe even 2. In the Paris area in order to take some of the pressure off the French there, because I definitely have a lot of Brits there. It allows me a tremendous amount of flexibility in just hammering a single hex multiple times with a lot of power. But the Brits don't have a tremendous amount of resources in terms of supply points, so no biggie there, really. It might be better to string them out a little bit more. Certainly the French are having manpower problems just in terms of what I can align with this bulge here. Yeah, the Germans are too, no question. But the French are having trouble being able to push their offensive further given their situation. All right, so we're going to load this one up, and I don't know if I'm going to play any more tonight.
All right, so I'll switch over quickly to Math, Fun, and Games. If you scroll earlier, you'll clue into for sure why you're, unless it's Mrs. Rommel, but we're looking for a female, but Rommel's the answer for everything, especially for World War I, for sure. Amazing things happening. But anyways, nope. I'll let you guys know at the very end. I'll switch over now to that PDF I wanted to show you, and hopefully my little split screen thing can work, so that way I can scroll the PDF back and forth, or any document that I would like. I mean, I could do a Word document, it doesn't matter. But this way, you guys should be able to see the document full screen. I'll be able to scroll back and forth and still be able to view the comments, which is what I want. So hold on here. I'm going to get rid of a few things that I no longer need. Oh, yeah, that was the only main thing that I wanted to mention about the when I was saying about what happened in late January, early February for 1914, was that President Woodrow Wilson did the very first wireless communication there with the Kaiser during that time. So that was the very first time that the United States and Germany had communicated, which I think is interesting that, darn, I hope I find that card, because that's going to be unfortunate. Okay, so let me get rid of, and I will show you this one very quickly. So this is one of the ships. This is a painting of the ship. Hold on, I'll see if I can get to the to StreamYard, and I think I have to hit present, share screen, and I pick this, and hopefully you guys can see it. There we go, and then I'll just go straight into here. So yeah, this is a I'll hide that bit. It says Sinking of the Linda Blanche. That's out of Liverpool. That was from SMU-20 or SMU-21, one of the two that managed to get around the Dover Barrage there and get up through into the Irish Sea and up along that area and whatnot, and caused a lot of grief. And then later on, that's when the Kaiser decided to give the thumbs up for the unrestricted warfare, sea warfare. And all hell starts to break loose. Okay, so now let's go to that screen. Hold on here. I have to go to stop screen. I'm going to present, share my screen. Microsoft tab. Almost gave it up. I gave it away. What you guys are the name for the trivia person. So you can see that. I'm going to go to full screen on this. Hit the view tab for the StreamYard so that way you guys can see that now. And then I'll bring this as much as possible so that way at least I can see. And then we'll go up to the top. So, oh darn, you know what is unfortunate? I wish I had wish I had put down the exact way, the route that I could get to this bit. Oh shoot, do I? I didn't. Hold on, I gotta. Yeah, you are. You get to see the full. Okay. You guys get to see what I was getting a bit worried there that. Yeah, no kidding. Math Fun and Games. It's true. I mean, it's just the rate of whatever. So please let me know if it's not scrolling nicely or you're not going to see. So this is one of the. I just thought. Especially for a lot of you guys that are into trying to get a bit more information about your games and or certain battles and whatnot. So this, like I said, I got this. This is just a free resource. You can download it. They tell you no problem. They show you where you can access this. Anyways, I got this through the National World War I Museum and Memorial site. And when I saw this, I just went, oh my gosh, I got to share this with you guys. And I was just hoping to goodness that my StreamYard thing would work so that way you guys can see this. So we'll just take a quickie look through here. But I just wanted to show you some of the stuff that is available. And, you know what? I'm going to continue going on and on and on with going over to the National World War I Museum and Memorial until I exhaust some of that for streaming or whatever, or if other people decide, hey, let's take a look at some other stuff. I find it ironic that the thing that I want the most out of YouTube is the community tab, and I can't get it. It's like you little. Why do I keep? Yeah, I keep trying. I'm moving the wrong. Thing over here, but and tell me if I'm going a bit too slow or whatever, but I just kind of wanted to, or too fast. But you can see this is the amount of information that is available just in this one PDF. You can see it's nearly 600 pages, for goodness sakes. So if you guys want to just get an obscene amount of detail, I'm assuming, oh my goodness, and later on we'll do another episode for it when I find how I access this bit. They've got you can go and download huge people's diaries and firsthand experience. So as a researcher or someone, my goodness, just incredible. Look at that, Mr. Pershing. Oh goodness gracious. Even I'm starting to clue into this. Yeah, interesting is the word for sure. It's just it's almost to the point of endless. And I love this actually. When I went over this initial chapter, I just love the way that. Hold on, I'm going to scroll it a bit over here. Then I'll have to go back on. There we go. There, that's much better. Hold on, I'm going to go back to View tab. There we go. All right, that's much better. Look at this. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, this is just, freely available for anybody to just, go. Just the amount of detail you want to go to is just magnificent. This is just one book. I mean, started, like I said, just started. Look at the photography. This is just incredible. And yet again, with the resolution of the scanning that they've done, I was taking a look of earlier on in the day with some other material that they had, and I'm not kidding you, I was able to get to 3,000 even more percent scaled up, and I mean, obviously you couldn't see anything anymore, but I mean the resolution was still it was incredible. Look at that! Holy moly! I wonder if that's one of those Big Bertha things that Henry Mike had mentioned. No, I guess I better give you the answer pretty soon, since we're at 9:30, and I think. Oh, look at that, eh? But you can see what I mean. This is just an incredible resource, guys, and it's just going to be fantastic. Here, I'll flip it over to my switcheroo here. How do I do this? Back to. Is this how I do the? I want me as a little dude. There we go. So you can still see a little bit before I vanish off. Okay, I'll put on the Wikipedia page since I can't find the bloody card, and that way you guys will know the answer to the mystery person this week, or who am I this week in history. So hold on, I'll pop. I can't. Oh yes, I can. So hold on. I gotta go to here. There we go. And then I'll go back to StreamYard. So that's the person, Flora Sandez, I guess that's her name. Yeah, Andrew Mac, no kidding. Also, let's be honest, reading style as well. I don't know about you guys. I just have not yet got into listening to audiobooks. I wish I could, because I'm sure you could soak in a heck of a lot more information. So yeah, anyways, that's Flora Sandez. I'll see if I can. Hold on, I'll pop it straight up, full on, so you guys can see her. There we go. I'll get into there. So yeah, I just when those cards. When I was looking at the cards last night, she popped up, and I went, my goodness, I mean, it was like, and you're right, meandering, like some of those questions are tough. I'm like, and it's supposed to be for like age 8 and up. Like, holy moly! I mean, there's the certain ones, but you can see that the people that made this are fairly knowledgeable. So what they consider maybe basic information is not so basic for other people, But yeah. Anyways, I ended up. Purchasing a copy of her biography or whatever last night on eBay for like $10. It's gonna take forever to get to my house because it's through England. That's one of the the unfortunate things. But there's the stamp I was mentioning. So that's it. Can I say, guys? That's it. We're at about 9:33. I'm still, like I said, about pacing and time-wise, but I'm just overflowing with information or material to share with you guys. To be honest with you, I still love the idea. Well, I'm certainly going to be doing it the week that was, and having it with these maps that I can just leave the fronts on, and they'll alter over time, which I think will be wonderful. The Calandale playthroughs are going through eventually, but are going to end eventually, but that's fine because there's still, like I said, I want to go over all the go over week by week the same way the way that Dave Schroeder was doing his tutorials, but we'll do it our way and go over a lot more detail, especially, like I said, right off the bat with the map overview. I mean, he doesn't mention anything about all of the area like around Palestine and whatnot, and the floodplains. There's a lot of terrain that is not mentioned in his tutorials, and we still have to do the trenches. And in other words, we can really dig down. And I still want to get into like Charles Latoro was mentioning about, what other games are available on the Italian front and so on and so forth as they start preparing for doing Caporetto der Weltkrieg style proper kind of thing. So anyways, that's it. I'm going to watch some of your, other people's stuff on YouTube videos, maybe have a little quickie nap, but I'm telling you, I am just dying to get onto that game. But it's interesting the way also Charles Latoro was mentioning about having the pieces on the board, and it's like that first move just to get the momentum going. So I'll be doing that as well. So I hope you guys have a great Saturday. Thank you for showing up, and yeah, that's it. Hope to see you next week, and I'll start assembling what's going on, and we'll go from there and have an next trivia person. Hopefully I won't lose that card as well. Okay, thanks again, guys, and I'll see you in a bit. Bye.